surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. I am rising up like a phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly higher. I am rising up like a phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly higher. I am rising up. I am rising up. I am rising up. I am rising up. I'm rising up like a phoenix from the fire. Oh, brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly higher. We are rising up like a phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly higher. We are rising up. 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 We are rising up like a phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly higher. We are rising up like a phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly higher. We are rising up. 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 We are rising up.
Oh, yes, we are opening up in sweet surrender. And we're opening to that love light that we are, that is within us. Welcome this morning to Unity Spiritual Center of Portland, where we gather creating a circle, an infinite circle of intelligence. And that intelligence, that divine light surrounds each of us and enfolds each of us. And it reminds us that this infinite intelligence is constantly moving in and through and as us now. I want to say happy Valentine's Day. I'm Reverend Lisa Davis, the senior minister here at Unity Spiritual Center of Portland, where we know that that light is in every being, everywhere. And so as we come together this morning, I want to share, from Rumi. Rumi says, whoever you are and whatever you do, be in love. And so as we begin this service this morning, I just remind us we can be in love with life, with ourselves, with ice and snow, with rain, with frustration, with people who don't do what we want to do, with all of the aspects of life. And I just invite you to join with me as we begin this service in prayer. Infinite Spirit, we open this moment to the movement of Spirit. And Spirit is a movement. Love is a movement within our hearts. It heals, it harmonizes, reminds us of the truth of our being. And we hold that space of yes, for ourselves, our lives, the journey of expansion that we are on, for every being around us, those we know and do not know, those that we understand and those we do not understand. We simply hold in his circle every being close to us, far away, in that light, in that lifting, in that love, and a recognition that within their very being is the pure potentiality of that rises this day. For this opportunity to gather and to hold this country in our prayers, to hold the globe and all people in our prayers. We are so blessed. And so it is. Amen. And so it is. It's such a wonderful opportunity to be here. And I wanted to share with you in this unusual circumstance. I'm so grateful for Michael and Mark Pearson for coordinating this whole service and allowing us an opportunity to share with you in this way. I wanted to also say that the drive-by that was scheduled for today is not happening today. However, we invite you to come and pick up your little gift bag that has a wonderful booklet, Renew and Release, and that is what we'll be working with for 46 days during this time that you may have known of as Lent. It begins this coming Wednesday. Around the world, that was often known as the season of light. And it's another season of adding light, releasing all that needs to be released. And we have a booklet that Unity's put out that will be with day-by-day support. So you can come and get those at church Monday through Thursday. You can get them next Sunday if you'd like. We'll be there from about 11 to 12 if you'd like to do that, if you haven't gotten it yet. I just invite you to recognize that that light is within you and know we are sending you love this day. Also, when you come to the church, we'll have a stone for you to put your intention for this coming year and for the light, and we're going to add them all together into our garden. So I'll show you that, and you can play with that. Also, our bookstore is open Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 4. We have quite a few different books in there. Alice has gotten some new ones. Come and visit us. Your prayer requests, remembering that we are praying with you. We're holding you in this light, in this time that we find ourselves in. You're welcome to go onto our website, unityofportland.org, and fill out a prayer request. Our chaplains are praying with you. Our prayer line is open 24 hours a day. Our chaplains change it regularly, and it has an empowering prayer for you. It's 503-234-7491. So 503-234-7491. You can call it any time of day or night. If you've enjoyed this community and this service, if you're enjoying it, I invite you to share it with your friends. We are here to connect with all beings. So we thank you for being a part of that. Newcomers, we welcome you. We recognize that infinite spirit within you and know that you are here with a mighty work to do. It's time now. We're going to move into our meditation. I invite you to just open your heart, relax, listen to this beautiful music, and know that we are here as a movement of spirit. Thank you.
Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come to love, or serve and remember? 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 To love.
Oh, yes. And we are here to love, to serve, to remember as we relax our bodies, as we quiet our minds and turn within. I am that I am, moves in and through and as us now. I continue relaxing my body, letting go, and following that sacred cycle of the breath. I am here as love, in love. I allow that movement, the vibration of love, to move through now. Breathe it in. All else falls away. I am love. I allow the infinite wisdom of that love to move through my body. I am a channel to serve an awakening in the silence, in the silence. And with a willingness to remember the truth of my being, I allow that movement of remembering to happen in and through and as me now. And I say, yes, here I am, infinite spirit. I am love. I serve that awakening. And I remember that this is a sacred journey. And gratitude for every step, for every moment, for this day moves through me now. And so it is.
Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come to love, or serve and remember? 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 To love, serve and remember. To love, serve and remember. To love. Happy Valentine's Day, Unity of Portland. L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is extraordinary is even more than anyone that you adore can. Love is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. You know it's true. Me and you know it's true.
Love. Are we opening to the love in the universe right now? Do you know that this universe is inviting us to open to this experience, to the love that we are, to the journey that we walk? As many times as we may say, but it's filled with things I don't like, or it's filled with change, or it's filled with all of these things. It's a journey of love. It's a sacred journey. Carl Jung says one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by bringing light to the darkness. Now, I like those figures of light. I like to hold in prayer this light and this love and this presence. And I actually believe it might be both and. So I believe we are imagining and holding figures of light, holding the light that we are. And that's a retraining of our brain, but we also are bringing light to the darkness, all of us. And that means an education of our hearts and our souls and our beings. So as we experience Valentine's Day in probably a way you have never experienced before, I know that because we're all on this journey of just life as it is in this moment. And we get to look at this life and we get to find what's there for us and how we can move through it with grace and with love and with joy. We can find that joy. You know, Eknath Easwaran, whose much of his work was based in the wisdom of Gandhi, and I consider him a modern day mystic. He passed away, gosh, he moved on probably 10 years ago, I would say it's been. He was talking about troubled times, and he said this. He said, it's not psychologists, but the great mystics who show us how to flourish in unstable times. With one voice, they tell us that in a world of change rests a changeless foundation, which can be sought and realized by anyone willing to make that discovery their first priority. So there's a changeless foundation within this world of change. So when we say change is the only constant, that is true for our outer world, but it's not that way for this inner foundation, the foundation upon which we live. And so when we have the courage to step out into a changing, moving world that's constantly evolving, and yet we allow ourselves to recognize and reside in a changeless foundation, means that infinite presence. I learned to call it God, and I was always told there is a changeless presence and power available, all knowing, all powerful, all understanding. And this is, you can call it infinite, you can call it the quantum field, but it's present, it's available for you in this breath right now, right where you are. He also said, it is only natural to ask now and then, why was I born into times like these at this time? And he said, I still have no answer. The mystics would say without a doubt that we have been born into this time to be of service to others. So how do we add to an awakening world. And you might look around and say, I saw that trial. It doesn't look very awakening to me. Or I saw this, or I know what I'm feeling in my heart because today isn't how I want it to be. This is the world that we're being asked to not just make it through or survive in, but to find an opening of our hearts that allows us to step in and offer the gifts that we have, every one of us. And they may have come from the most painful places, often they do, but they allow us to be a part, to act with our environment, interact, and to touch and to move and to create a word that to create networks. You know, we're moving into what the age of Aquarius is what I've heard a lot of recently. And as I was looking at it, I thought it was funny because it went along with the word that I've been using recently, and it said it's an age of networking. And I was wondering, what is that? And that's supporting each other, being interconnected, recognizing our oneness. And so we're here to love, to serve, to remember that we are created in this image and likeness, and that we are the channels for that change. So what are we doing here? What is life right now? We're in this pandemic. We're looking forward to moving out. We're in the middle of an ice storm, a snowstorm, just a sloppy mess, you could call it. And yet it's such beauty. Right now we are in the third week of our 8-week program called God is Love. And it's looking at the book, let me get it for you, by Mirabai Starr, God of Love. And it's talking about these ideas of the coming together and the greater understanding of the 3 Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and for us to create a larger picture. And I want to say that as we do that, what we're doing is opening ourselves to a broader view, opening ourselves to something that reminds us of who we are, that allows us to see something differently. I want to start again with material from the field, and it's from Lynne McTaggart. Some of this might seem like a little science report, but I want us to remember this changeless foundation, what it really is. And so, Lynne McTaggart, after almost 6 years of round the clock, year-round investigation into quantum physics, she wrote her now famous and well-studied book, The Field, translated into many, many different languages. And in this, she says, at our most elemental, we are not a chemical reaction, but an energetic charge. Human beings and all living things are a coalescence of energy in a field of energy connected to every other thing in the world. This is the network. It's a network of spirit. This pulsating energy field is the central engine of our being and our consciousness, the alpha and omega of our existence. So we in our brains, I'm going to take a moment and stop here, are moving from one where we thought we were separate, and I'll go into that in just a moment, to one where we recognize we're interconnected. And I want to really start feeling that in your body. I want you to stop feeling like I'm separate. I'm not a part of you. There's no me or not me duality to our bodies in relation to the universe, but one underlying energy field. This field is responsible for our mind's highest functions, the information source guiding the growth of our bodies. We're here, and we actually have filters with free will to say yes to ideas that support us and bless us and remind us of the wholeness that we are and the important work we came to do, regardless of our age, regardless of where we are, or what our work is. Our work is this connecting to spirit with a channel of love through this energy field. So it's our brain, our heart, our memory, indeed a blueprint of the world for all time. We are attached and engaged, indivisible from our world, and our only fundamental truth is our relationship with it. The field, as Einstein so succinctly put it, is the only reality. I want to add some other pieces to this, though, today. Up until the present, Biology and physics have been handmaidens of views espoused by Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics. Now, you may wonder why we're talking about Isaac Newton, but we're making a change. Everything we believe about our world and our place within it takes its lead from ideas that were formulated in the 17th century, but still forms the backbone of modern science. Theories that present all the elements of the universe as isolated from each other, divisible and wholly self-contained. We've heard it, we've lived within it from the 17th century. So these are hundreds of years old. These, at their essence, created a worldview of separateness. That's where we've been, a worldview of separateness. How many times in your life have you felt alone and afraid and wondering how you're going to survive? Newton described a material world in which individual particles of matter followed certain laws of motion through time and space. The universe was a machine. Before he formulated his laws of motion, French philosopher René Descartes came up with what was then a revolutionary notion that we, represented by our minds, were separate from this lifeless matter of our bodies, which were just another type of well-oiled machine. The world was composed of a load of little discrete objects which behaved predictably. And the most separate of these was the human being. That's where we've been, hundreds of years. We sat outside this universe looking in. Even our bodies were somehow separate and other from the real of us, the heart of us, the conscious minds that do the observing, the mind-heart connection. The Newtonian world was run by laws, but ultimately it was a lonely, desolate place. Now, when quantum physics came on the scene, it has changed many ideas for a few people, but we're changing a worldview. And she goes on to say, I'm going to give a little bit more and then we'll stop on that one. This world of the separate should have been laid to waste once and for all with the discovery of quantum physics in the early part of the 20th century. They found that the tiniest bits of matter weren't even matter as we know it, not even a set something, but sometimes one thing, sometimes something quite different. They found a field, a movement. And Lynn goes on to say, and even stranger, they were often many possible things all at the same time. A world we can't say, it's here, it's only there, and it's all separate. But most significantly, these subatomic particles had no meaning in isolation, but only in relationship to everything else. The world that we understood as always there and always separate is not real. It was a theory, and it's not there. She said, at its most elemental, matter couldn't be chopped up into self-contained little units, but was also completely indivisible. You could only understand the universe as a dynamic web of interconnection. On our most fundamental level, living beings, including human beings, every living thing, we're talking nature, we're talking animals, we're talking humans, we're packets of quantum energy constantly exchanging information with this inexhaustible energy sea. We're all connected. Now, this may not come as any surprise to you, but we're in a time of evolution, of changing literally the neurobiology of our brain to go from I'm separate and alone, and it's me over here, and then, oh, there's people who follow this tradition, and they live in this way, and they look this way, that we're separate. That's the old brain neural pathways, and we're shifting it. We're shifting it to one of interconnection, of understanding the networks, literally, of spirit. And so if you find yourself uncomfortable, we're bringing light into the dark places. It requires a lot of light into the places where we haven't allowed that network of equal to equal, of honoring all. You know, Rick Hanson, who works with the evolving brain, he's saying that in order to understand this and live this, and he said, we have to learn to us all them. We have to learn to us all the places that it's they, all of the thems. And so his practice, and he calls it that. He said, who's outside your circle? And I'd say, what's outside our circle? A lot of times I think we find ourselves, we put ourselves and everything else into these categories. And he said, but really what we have to do is begin training our brain that it's not us and them. And that's Mother Earth out there, that's animals out there, that's people out there, it's anybody who comes from an Islamic tradition or a Judaic tradition or a Christian tradition or any other tradition. He said for most of the past 300,000 years, our human ancestors lived in small bands of about 50 people in which they survived by being good at caring about and cooperating people inside their little band with us. And so those were the us's. And he said, and while they were also good at fearing and being aggressive toward them, the people outside their little circle. And for 2 million years before that, our hominid ancestors lived and evolved under similar pressure. So that's what our brains were doing. That's a long time. And then during the last 10,000 years, as agriculture produced food surpluses that enabled larger groups, this same pattern was repeated at bigger scales. And so we went into, you could see the religious traditions. And so they were us, but they were still them. They were just larger groups. And it's not just in our politics. You can see it, even in our country. Okay, so it's us and it's them. It might be Democratic, Republican, independent. I'm in this, I'm that. They said, he went on to say that you can see the theming of others as you walk down the street in the rapid sorting of our brains as they take and we look, we say people, me, not like me. We do it automatically. That's what our brains do. You can see it in the family. Right now it's they're an us and they're a them. We can see it in the in group and the out group, the dismissals, the turning away, and he said in anger and easy disdain. We can see it. You can see your mind moving so quickly to reduce another person to a two-dimensional figure as you invest in your own position and identity. That's natural. That's what we've done up until now. And we know what it feels like to be them, to be the one who's wrong or on the out. I bet every one of us here today has been of them. And we've hurt over it. And sometimes we just hold it inside and start finding ways that we start attacking ourselves and saying, you're right. If you could have just been, you were smarter. If you just had more of this, if you just had more of that. Our brains are seeking to find us as a network of humanity, as Mother Earth and humanity. That's the us. It's larger as all of the animals, because we can recognize that we all want pleasure. We all want caring. We all want the same things as far as humans. And so his job, his assignment to every being is to start using your brain and start using. Take a little time, he said, to know what it feels like to be a part of an us. Think of an us that you are. And it might just be us as far as Americans, or it might be us as far as, just think of, it might be in your family, I'm an us. Or you may feel I'm not. You might feel you're a them. Then find a place. At Unity, you're an us. We love you. And he said, but we can also now, when we go throughout our day, begin looking at all of the people and just stopping that us or them. And you have to be aware of it first and begin saying, oh, they have the same desires. They have the same wants. They want to thrive. They want love. They want, and he put it so cute. He said, they're just like me. Their back hurts like mine. They love their kids like I do. They have felt joy and sorrow like I do. They're in us. Create larger circles of us. And he said that's an an important part of brain evolution right now is creating us in our minds, an experience of us. Wow, you heard just like I do. I may not agree with what you just said, but wow, you felt what it's like to be a them. You've known what that is. All you want is love. How do I allow that? And he said, try it in particular with people who seem very different from you. And with people who belong to groups you may mistrust or fear or dislike. Boy, that'd be an interesting one. This is not about whether or not people are held accountable. This is not just loving everybody and letting it go. This is about retraining our brains so that as we move forward, we can do so with integrity and with kindness and with a deeper understanding, and our brains can begin evolving to a point where we can see a larger picture. And so part of this essing, I believe, is with our planet. What are we doing right now with our views of the earth? Many of us are acknowledging climate change. We're saying, oh, we don't like that. But we may not realize that we actually grew up with a brain that considered itself separate. And I believe all of our suffering comes from that view that we're separate from God. We're separate from humanity. We're separate from the idea of enough. We're separate often from worthiness. We're separate from Mother Earth. We're not a part of not just humanity, but of life on Earth, on this whole planet and all that's in it. We've come, instead of being separate, to recognizing our oneness and love, which is what part of what we're celebrating today, is the healing, harmonizing power of the universe that awakens us to that holds us in that space. And so how can we begin to change that, to look at our relationship with each other and our relationship, especially as evolving our brains, to have a relationship with God, with other humans, and with the planet that begins to move along into an opening that says, oh yes, us. These animals are an us. Now that means when Carl Jung talked about bringing light into the darkest places, what's happening is, and I believe we're already doing it. If you look at what's happening with Black Lives Matter and with so many people studying these ideas, we're bringing light into the darkness, because when history isn't taught and we don't know it, and we have this story, we didn't understand white privilege, or you didn't understand what it meant to gosh, how do we put it, in caste. We didn't understand a system of othering. That was a system of making sure there were thems out there. And there was always somebody higher or lower, or that, that was all part of the brain through fear that didn't know how to us. And so bringing light to that also means we're bringing light, and it's painful to bring light to the places inside where we wonder, are we enough? How do I move through this? And so as we do that, we find something more. But I want to talk about our planet. When we realize that the unmoving, unshakable foundation is one presence and one power, God, the infinite good, that's where it is in your life and in your world, then we get to move into this, and then it's a holographic field. Then we get to move into saying, how do we relate to our planet around us? In Genesis 1:26, and most of us we may not realize that we came from a pattern of taking the Bible and what was said in our sacred literature, and the word that was used was dominion. And from that was created a whole history, whether it was from the Torah, the Bible, the Quran, it all came from this same idea. And I'll read it to you, and this is in Mirabai's, she's stating, I don't know which version of the Bible she used, but it's very interesting. In Genesis 1:26, we are told that when he had finished creating the heavens and the earth and all creatures except human beings, the Creator said, let us make humans in our image and let them rule over and it said rule, and then most of them say have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, over all the creatures that move along the ground. That was an old thinking. And this idea, it's fascinating. First of all the traditions have done this. In Judaism, there's a lot more that talks about we're tenants. And one of them is like in Leviticus. This land is mine and you are but aliens and my tenants. Throughout the country that you hold as a possession, you must, what does it say? Provide for the redemption of the land. You must be as a sacred tenant, caring for that land. When I looked at the Quran, there is much more about this idea of being a tenant and a khalifa, which was a steward. And so those are the words. When we look at Christianity, and they say fundamental Christianity is much less tuned toward the earth, and we could go into why, and it's a fascinating story, but it's shaped our brains. It's actually shaped our brains of word separate. What I thought was fascinating is that the word in Hebrew that was translated as dominion, when I looked it up and really played with it, and there's quite a bit of material on this, it's rahat in Hebrew. And it actually is shepherding. We are here as shepherds. And so what would happen if we began feeling that we are family? And I'm talking about us as family on the planet. Because the networking and the things we know about this planet are so much more. I want to share with you that if we embraced all of creation as family, we would live so differently. And she talks about at the heart of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam is a sense of radical awe in the face of creation, accompanied by the impulse to glorify the Creator, to glorify. Look outside your window this morning and tell me if you can find God. Take a God walk when you can, when it's safe, and find in your heart. You'll find it. You'll see it. But what we haven't even begun to realize is it's already there. The networking is already happening. This planet is already one network. In who is it? Suzanne Simard is the one who talks so much about trees, and she's been doing this work for over 25 years. And she said, what we don't know is that every forest, every tree has this network underground that literally they are talking to other trees. And every tree, a tree that's dying, actually through that network, and they figured out that it happens through a network of lattice fungi buried in the soil, and they talk to each other. But a tree, if it's dying, will actually send some of its energy and some of the nutrients through that network to other trees. And trees that are in a time period when they're not growing leaves, trees have a network. They're talking all the time. They've been able to identify mother trees that do more of sharing their wisdom. They let other trees know what nutrients are available and how they can use them. That's the networking that's happening. As you're going throughout your week this week, I would invite you to start asking yourself, am I a part of the whole? Am I allowing that love that I am to connect me with everything? When I look at the planet, when I look at nature, first of all, do I look? Or do I just drive down a road and not think of it? Am I allowing myself to absorb the family of love, the family of God, the family of all that we are, to recognize there's a much larger understanding. There's a much larger knowing, and that it's all around us. Because you came to love, to serve, to remember, and to bring light into the darkest places. And if your heart has always said, I want to be a part of something more. You already are. It's the ability to see that light, to allow it to expand as you, and your brain to open. We're all a part of us. Every person, every being, everything is a part of us. Have a love-filled week. Blessings, friend.
1, 2, 3, out. You give me life, you give me love, you make it okay to cry. You lift me up, you hold me tight, you turn my world into a song. And when I feel alone and cold, needing strength to let go, I look around, I see you there, you're in my friend, you're everywhere. I close my eyes, you're deep inside, yeah, I'm alive. You give me life, you give me love, you make it okay to cry. You lift me up, you hold me tight, you turn my world into a song. And when I feel alone and cold, needing strength to let go, I look around, I see you there, you're in my friend, you're everywhere. I close my eyes, you're deep inside, yeah, I'm alive. You are love moving through me, love acting as me, love grows around me, it's my reality. We can change what we're seeing because love is our meaning. The love grow all around you and be reality. You give me life, you give me love, you make it okay to cry. You lift me up, you hold me tight, you turn my world into a song. And when I feel alone and cold, needing strength to let go, I look around, I see you there, you're in my friend, you're everywhere. I close my eyes, you're deep inside, yeah, I'm alive. I look around, I see you there, you're in my friends, you're everywhere. I close my eyes, you're deep inside, yeah, I'm alive. Yeah, I'm alive. Yeah, I'm alive.
Oh, and we are so grateful. This light, this presence, this love that is everywhere sources us this moment. It's time now to receive our tithes and our love offerings and to know that the foundational presence and one power sources us. We have all that we need in this moment. And so I would invite you, as you choose to give your gifts, to recognize that this source moves through us and that we are, again, caretakers, stewards, shepherds of this good, and that we allow that to vibrate as enough within us, because we're still enlarging our brains to understand that we are enough, there is enough, all is enough. And so let's do our offering. If you'd like to give your gift through the website, unityofportland.org, you're welcome to do that. You can also use PushPay and text 77977 and the words Unity of Portland, all lowercase, and do a one-time gift or make it a recurring gift. And also you're welcome to send in your checks and your love offerings to 4525 Southeast Stark Street, Portland, Oregon. And Unity of Portland, we invite you to be a part of that giving. We're going to bless our gifts and just breathe into your heart, knowing that divine love, the very essence of this quantum field, vibrates in and through and as us now. We say, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Truly, we are so blessed. And so it is. Amen. And we just thank you for being a part of Unity Spiritual Center of Portland, for being with us today, for knowing that you are a part of us, all of us, the globe, the earth, all beings everywhere. We are one. And as we close this service, knowing that we have come with a mighty work to do, with a realization that everywhere is the love that we are. We close with our unity prayer. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. Amen. And I just invite you to have a love-filled week, to remember that you are the love. You are the light this day. Blessings.